So tonight's meditation class is going to be very special. This is the first time I think we've ever done a talk together, right, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
So I asked Catherine, those of you who don't know, shame on you, I don't know where you've been, but it was Catherine's 50th birthday yesterday. And well, one of the things I asked maybe before your birthday was, what do you want to do more of? And she said, talk. And I said, I've got a great opportunity for you to talk. So every once in a while, she'll do some meditation classes. And then I thought this would be a great opportunity to talk about the idea of martial arts after 50. Because I'm not even anywhere close to 50. But so Catherine, I floated the idea of talking about it today, and she said, well, what are you going to talk about? I said, well, maybe we should do it together. So we'll kind of have a conversation back and forth about it, and I'll offer my insight. I have plenty of experience teaching people who are over 50, and Catherine's got 1 day of experience doing martial arts over 50, but, close enough. So we'll talk about it. Do you want to start it off, ma'am, or do you have an idea that you want to discuss first?
I think, yeah, sure. Yes,
I can just hold it the whole time.
Can hold
you do
it.
your thing.
Okay. So one of the things that I've noticed as I've gotten older is just how much the same I feel inside, and how that doesn't really change as we get older, how we feel inside. Sometimes the results are different, like I can't move as quickly as I can, or I'm not necessarily as flexible as I was before, but the attitude is still the same. So I still try hard, I still work hard, I still put my best effort forward every single time that I'm here in the dojo or doing whatever it is I'm doing in life. So, yeah. That
is a great point, and I have had that experience even at my young age of the way that my body has in some ways slowed down, or in some ways, my back hurts more than it used to, my knees are louder. Every time I sit down in Seiza in the beginning of class for that day, I click into Seiza. But the attitude, that's something that you can always be in charge of. And this is something that we talk about all the time in class, where it's like you have the external environment, which we now have this brand new beautiful dojo, which is a gorgeous external environment. But you can't always control your external environment. Sometimes you're in nasty places with people who are not cooperating with you and not giving you the kind of environment that you want to be in, but your internal environment you're always in charge of. And this is something that our practice teaches us. You can even look at that with your body, right? You might not feel externally the way that you wish that you did every day, but you can have your internal environment remain the way that you want it to. So the thoughts and the emotions that we have they don't have to be a function of the way that our body feels. They don't have to be a function of anything other than themselves. So that's one of the best things that I think we can get out of practice, and it's the fact that that's challenged. The longer we practice and the more creaky our body gets, we get a better opportunity to work on controlling our internal environment and being able to be in charge of how we're feeling about our practice and how we're feeling about everything, even just on a day-to-day basis. One of my favorite things that you talked about, and I'm writing about this in the blog for this month, is I asked Catherine, what are you going to do with the next 50 years? What did you say?
I said I was going to have fun.
Yeah, have fun, which is important. And you said sharing fun with other people too.
Sharing fun with other people.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So, for me, life is really about for myself, it's enjoying my life. But then I think it's really important for us as human beings to be able to share with each other and to be able to communicate with each other and to help each other have better lives. And for me, sharing the stuff that I'm having fun with, that I'm passionate about, is going to be infectious for other people, and hopefully going to inspire them to have fun and do what they want to do for their lives as well. Even if it's not exactly the same thing that I do, if they're inspired, if they're doing something with their lives that's making it meaningful for them, that's what it's all about for me.
It's true, and it is
Yeah.
infectious. This is one of the most important things about being a senior student in the dojo, and for me, for teaching. In fact, I was training some of the black coats, some of the senior students that help in the kids class and the adult class on Tuesday night, and I saw some people were up there. We were kind of like, going over some different ideas about how to be a better teacher and how to be a better assistant in class. And one of the things I noticed was some people were really stiff. They were up there like very robotic, and they didn't seem like they were enjoying themselves because they were so focused on themselves. They're thinking like the whole time, am I screwing this up? And I know that feeling intimately because that's how I spent the first several years of teaching martial arts. The whole time I'm up there just like, how badly am I screwing this up right now? How stupid do I look? But when you can take your attention off of yourself and put it on somebody else, and you're helping that person have fun, this is one of the best ways to just be in general. But I think that it is so important for yourself and for everybody else to just enjoy what you're doing. So whether you're up there teaching the whole class or you're just one person working with another person, if they don't think that you're having fun, they're not going to be having fun. And if nobody's having fun, like, let's be honest, you're just not going to stick around and practice for very long, right? So this is one of the other things that we talked about this is one of the things that I was writing about, is like, what if you knew that you were never going to get better at martial arts? Would you keep practicing? Like, this is it. I've hit a plateau. I've hit a wall. I've hit a crevasse. I'm not getting better. This is absolutely it. This is going to be it. This is the best that it's ever going to be. Am I going to keep practicing? So I have my thoughts on it, but what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think the most important part about that is going back to what you said at the very beginning, which is like, what's your internal attitude about that? And because you can control your internal attitude about that, because that presents certain challenges for yourself, right, internally. So if you can use that as a challenge to get, then that way you're getting better to be able to overcome what you perceive as not getting better physically, you can become better mentally.
Well, we're talking about our, what's the word that we were using before? Our expectations, right?
Our expectations, yeah, absolutely.
And this is the part that's scary about the idea of not getting better, is that we expect to get better. If you expected that like, this is normal, I'm just supposed to stay this good forever, then you'd be totally fine with it. But we expect ourselves to be at like a certain level. We expect ourselves to be better than we are. We expect ourselves to be better than other people. We're always comparing ourselves to the people who started before we did, and to people who started after us. We're like, well, we started before that person, so I better like be better than them. I got to be able to beat them today in sparring, or beat them in push hands, or I better look better, or get lower in snake creeps down, or whatever. And so that comparison, we were talking earlier about, even if you're like the very best in the world. You were going to talk about this with kayaking too, right?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Do you want to talk about
that?
Yeah,
I'll say a
Go
little
ahead.
bit about that. So I've been kayaking now for about 27 years, and I competed internationally for kayak polo. And so
Catherine is one of the world's best kayak polo players.
Maybe was.
She was one of the world's best.
I was member of the New Zealand team and played in the US team and captained the US women's team too.
You had to retire a little bit because it's so dangerous. It's way more dangerous than martial arts.
But I did put a lot of training in for that, and I worked really hard at it, and I was not the best player by any stretch of the imagination. There were plenty of other people who were much better than I was. But having put in all of that training and having put in all of that work to be the best that I could be at that time, I now know that I'm nowhere near the level that I was when I was playing at that level. And I still enjoy playing kayak polo. I still go out and I still play. And it's not that I'm not ever getting better at it. I'm still learning things with that too. But the expectation, I'm not expecting to go and play at the Worlds again, at that level.
Why not?
Because because I don't put the training in. I'm not
Yeah.
spending as much time doing it. And it, you know, some of it is just how much time you're willing to put into something. I think when we're younger, we have more time that we're willing to put into a physical practice like this. And as we get older, we have families and we get more responsibilities and all those sorts of things. And your time to physically practice becomes less because you've got these other priorities. But even given that, the way that I come at it is more like, well, how can I be my best today? What's my best today? And I don't put an expectation on how I should be as how I was 5 years ago or how I was 10 years ago or whenever it was. You know, it's like what is my best today? And I just come in each day as what's my best today. And I think that helps with I don't ever get upset about not being able to do a certain thing a certain way or anything like that I used to be able to do. It's just, well, this is what I can do today. Oh well, great. This is what I can do today.
Yeah, this is a super important part of the idea of practicing martial arts. I mean, first of all, if you're ever going to get great, you have to practice for a long, long time. And I mean, you're just cracking the surface at 50.
Oh yeah.
you gotta be able to keep practicing forever. And most people think like 50, I'm not doing anything after 50. You were talking about like the level of physical activity that your parents were participating in at 50. And I think about what my parents were doing at 50. It's not what we do in class. No, this is not your mom's martial arts class. This is Naomi and Ian's mom's martial arts class. But I like the idea, if we go back to like, you know, comparing yourself to other people. There's always going to be somebody better than you. And even if you're the best, we were talking about this earlier today too, even if you're the best possible martial artist in the world, you are at the very top of the mountain of all the people practicing. Even then, you can still get better. There's something for you to improve upon. And I was saying before, like, this is, on some level, this is kind of like a nice, inspiring idea that I can always get better. I can always, you know, even if I can't punch harder, I might be able to, at the very least, improve my mental ability, my ability to focus, and, you know, through experience in martial arts, I can still recognize punches that are coming at me faster. And so this is like why the best martial artists of all time, who we have a lot of their pictures up on the wall now. These masters were in their primes, in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And it's not because they were stronger or faster than when they were 20 and 30. It's because the experience and the ability to be focused and to just to recognize strikes and to stay in the moment and be present in a way that far surpassed what any of us can do when we're younger and we just don't have the time spent on the mats. So on the one hand, it's nice to think like I can keep getting better. There's always something for me to work on, and that's my personal attitude towards practice. Is I think that even though I might be slowing down or my back's hurting more today or whatever, there's still something for me to improve on. There's something to get better at. But it also highlights the absurdity of the comparing that we're always doing. Like, we're always comparing ourselves to somebody else that's better. But even if you were that person, there's somebody better than them. And then even if you just go all the way up to the top, you still have to keep getting better. Or like, what are you doing? And that's absurd, because if we're tying our enjoyment of practice or our happiness or our contentment in life in general, if we're tying it to being better, even if it's being better than ourselves, there's no end to that. So this is a tricky thing, because you don't want to just stop getting better, you want to continue to strive for whatever level of excellence you can get to in this life with your physical practice, with meditation, with everything. But if you must continue improving in order to be happy or in order to keep coming, then that will necessarily like hit an end, and it's pointless. Like why tie it to that? So like Catherine, I think that the most important thing is just to have fun with it. And I know that at a certain point, I'm going to look back and think, 35, those were the best days. Like, I was so fast and so strong, and my back didn't hurt nearly as bad as it does now. Just like I can now at 35 look back when I was 25 and think my back barely hurt at all. It was, every day was like just the easiest, but I still know that no matter what kind of physical shape I'm in, I'm going to keep practicing, because that stuff is all superfluous. It's surface. It's not like really what's at the core of what we're doing. And for me personally, I can't think of anything more fun to do than practicing martial arts. And so if I weren't here, I would just be, somewhere else wishing that I was doing martial arts. And so I'm just going to keep doing it. And this is like a decision to make at some point in your practice. I'm sure you've made this decision already. You've only been here practicing with me for what, 5 years maybe?
Yeah, 6.
Nearly 6? Okay, don't let me forget that. and yet you've probably already made the decision. Like, I'm going to do martial arts forever. Mm-hmm. And don't let me put words in your mouth. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And yet you've already experienced, like, things are slowing down. I'm not necessarily going to keep getting better. But I made that decision when I was ridiculously young. I think I was 17 or 18 years old when I decided I'm going to do martial arts for the rest of my life. I didn't even know where I was going to be like a year from then. I didn't know where I was going to be living. I didn't know what kind of job I was going to have, where I was going to be going to school. I mean, anything. But I know I'm going to practice martial arts no matter where I am or what my situation is. And this is tied to another conversation that we were having earlier today about like how powerful that is for you, mm-hmm. and how freeing it is when you make a decision. And it's like you were talking about in relationships. Like, if I have a back door to this relationship, it's almost guaranteed to fail. And if you do the same thing with your practice and you say like, well, I'll do it for now, but as soon as it starts to get tough, or as soon as my schedule changes, or as soon as the traffic really piles up outside the dojo or whatever, I'm out. You're out now. You may as well literally just not show up to class, because you've already taken yourself out of it. Mm-hmm. And to decide, like, this is it. I'm doing it. It focuses your mind. It gives you a power over your internal environment that is like absolute. It doesn't matter actually if I feel like showing up to class or sitting in traffic or whatever or not. I just show up and I do it. That's it. And for me, it's because it's who I am. I'm a martial artist. I can't not show up to class. Obviously, I have to teach the classes, but even if I weren't, I have to be here, because without that, I don't know what I am. I'm just like, floating in the breeze. But that's a decision that we make. And at any point, if you are ever going to practice martial arts and like actually become great at it and keep practicing, mm-hmm. after 50 or 60 or 70 or 80, you have to have made that decision. This is what I do. This is who I am. And I would say it's the same with water polo. Even if you don't play as often as you did, or you don't get to the level that you used to be, it's not like, well, that's it. I'm not getting in a kayak anymore. I'm done. I mean, you're gonna do some level of it. I know you still teach people, mm-hmm. kayaking. Try to teach me kayaking. I don't like getting in the water. I said no. But it's like, there are so many things in our lives that we kind of make this decision. We just choose. This is it. I'm doing it. And then everything becomes easy. Mm-hmm. All right? All of that, like, back and forth in our own minds, and all the judgment and comparison And all of the strife and the suffering that we put ourselves through can just disappear because there's none of this, am I going to do it or not? It's just do it. And whatever comes at you, you know that you can take it because you've got that rock that you're holding on to. We're probably about done. You got anything else to add to this?
I've got one more thing I wanted to ask you about, actually.
Okay.
And that's about the people who are kind of much older than 50 that we have practicing here. And I'd love you just to say a little bit about the effects that you see it has on their lives. Because I see them come in here, and I see them when they first come in, and I see them after a few months of practice. And probably more so in Tai Chi than in the adult martial arts class. But just say something about how the transformations that you see in even older than 50 people.
Absolutely. Well, we've had lots of students over the years, and even with Sifu Brown's school, in our school in Rochester, with Sifu Donahue, we've had so many students who are practicing in their 60s and 70s and 80s, and I'm sure we've even had some people in their 90s who, and most of them they come in here and they've never done anything before. We've had some people who practiced some other style of martial arts before, and they're like, okay, I'm going to try this out. We'll see how my body can handle it. But a lot of them do Tai Chi. And I would say that early on, if they've come from doing nothing to doing this, there are crazy benefits. And if you want to take Tai Chi specifically, you should just Google health benefits of Tai Chi, specifically do the Harvard study. It shows all of the amazing things that you can get out of it. But our students, I see people come in here like literally on crutches, or they have to like hobble in to get to class, and after class they might be moving a little bit better, the blood is flowing, like they're a little bit more limber, but I see over the first couple of weeks even a huge transformation in somebody's ability to be balanced, to have more physical strength, and like just feel more confident in the way that they move. And that transformation early on for a lot of people, it makes me feel so much better about what we're doing. But the funny thing is, I see that sort of thing with everybody, with kids, all the way up to the oldest students that we have ever had. It's like there's that jump in the beginning, and I think that this is something that's really important, because if people come in the beginning and they don't see any kind of benefit at all, they think, well, this is not worth it, because they have to work hard. Everybody works hard no matter what class they're in. And so you have to see something from the beginning. But there's also this long-term kind of effect that practice has on everybody. And it's a little bit of a rate of diminishing returns. It's a little bit of a steep curve in the beginning of improvement, and then you start to taper off a little bit, but there's still this long, if you zoom out, you still see there's a huge amount of progress that people make. And that usually becomes the more internal part of their practice, where people, they go through the ups and downs of the body and of life, and they are able to use their practice as a kind of like a lab, and they can look back and see the progress that they've made, whether it's the form that they're learning, or the physical progress they've made in flexibility and balance and strength, or they just see, when I started, I couldn't stay focused for 5 seconds, and now I can actually sit still and meditate for a half an hour without moving. Or now I can do a whole Tai Chi class without just, losing my focus and looking out the window. And the same thing in Kung Fu. This transformation that people undergo, sometimes it's really subtle, but I see it in them that they see a huge difference in their life. And like, I only get to see most of you guys within these walls, and it's it is a finite amount of activity that you're doing, but I know a lot of these people, because they've told me and because they keep showing up to class, are getting so much more out of it, and it doesn't stop no matter what age you are. So that's really what's most important to me. I get students who come in here and they are like super fast and strong, and some of them could do backflips before they even came into class, and they're like some of the better athletes that you'll ever meet in your life. But those people could have gotten some kind of outlet for that doing 100 different things. I personally think that martial arts is the best and it's the most fun, but they might think it's something else. But the way that we challenge ourselves on other levels is something that lasts, and it can continue for decades. Mm-hmm. And when I see somebody transform themselves, their attitude towards life, like what I can actually do if I put forth the effort, what I can achieve, at no matter what age they are, that is really what keeps me coming back. Because to have somebody who's physically great, who could have done this and had that kind of coordination without me, that's nice. It's nice to look at, but really that has nothing to do with me or what we're doing here. But when I see somebody who was really rough when they first started, like they could hardly, and I'm looking out at you guys because it's neither one of you, but if you come in here and you're like the bad horse, there's the best horse that runs at the shadow of the whip. There's the next best horse that runs when they feel the whip like just barely touching their skin. There's the next best horse that runs when they feel the pain. And then there's the worst horse that doesn't run until the pain gets all the way to the marrow. Like, I love it when I get a worst horse in here, the person that just needs a lot of work. And then I see them. It's not like they become the best horse. They just make the progress, and they run, and they're able to run the same as the best horse. But the effort that takes and the way that you are necessarily transformed to be able to do that is, it's a feeling as a teacher that is unsurpassed. And I think that I get the most worst horses in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, because those are people who've been doing a lot of junk with their bodies for many years. They're just like not coming in prepared for this. But if you are here for a couple of years, you can't help but start to make that progress, and it's beautiful. Okay, and the same thing holds true with meditation. That's my segue into the fact that this is a meditation class. So it doesn't matter how old you are, your mind, you can always continue to strengthen it, and meditation is the perfect tool for that. So we're going to do that now and try to take this lesson of am I holding myself up to a certain standard, or am I expecting myself to be at a certain level in this meditation, and just let all that go. Right? All you're here to do is sit and breathe, and however great it is exactly how great it's supposed to be. Sit comfortably.